all the ideas. And now we have an initial screening and prioritization of these crowdsourced ideas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just work my way down from 25 and ask anybody who has a card that has a 25, a score of 25. Does anybody have a score of 25? Raise your hand if you do. Ryder. Ryder, would you read that card off?
Sure, can you give me just like this?
Well, I can, but...
So I got number 25, 8 virtual reality simulations of iconic Santa Barbara County waterfront areas available at many public events. Points of interest such as Earth Day, Solstice, county fairs, concerts, public education, and outreach are critical.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ryder. Any other 25s in the room? 24s. Anybody have a 24? Yeah, Cindy.
Need to develop a sensitive community outreach to help people understand impacts, VR, community forum, artwork, film, not just science.
So again, a outreach-oriented, visual, virtual, and sensitive. I like the sensitive piece as well. All right, any other 24s? It's a tough crowd today. 23s. Anybody have a 23? Raise your hand. Yeah.
Requirements on utility locations and standards to include hardening for development and redevelopment.
Can you read that one more time to make sure we understand it?
Requirements on utility locations and standards to include hardening for development and redevelopment.
So infrastructure standards, particularly for utilities, to make sure that they're, when we're replacing them or building new, we're not putting them in harm's way. Great, we have another?
Make sustainable practices such as renewable energy more feasible, government intervention, for example.
Make sustainable practices more feasible, including renewable energy, if necessary through government intervention. Okay, but any other 23s? Yeah, Ashley.
Program for sediment management and coastal habitat restoration at wetlands, beaches, dunes, lagoons that creates multiple benefits for native community, multiple benefits for nature, community, and climate impacts.
I think our speakers did a really good job, didn't they? Yeah, I feel educated by that. Thanks, Ashley. So it's a sediment program that leads to ecological restoration and green infrastructure, green buffers. Any other 23s in the room? Okay, 22s. Imagine there's quite a few. All right, keep your hand up for a second and we'll get a microphone to you. Okay, Sigrid.
Manage relocation of coastal infrastructure and development.
Manage relocation of infrastructure and development. Thanks. Ashley, do you have one back there? We'll alternate.
Build a series of art installations along the projected 2050 or 2100 sea level rise line that focus on hope, community, and emotional grief for loss of the coast.
So an art-focused outreach and education effort, really bringing the emotional side as well. Michelle.
Identify actions each person can take so education can lead to action.
Create map of socially vulnerable neighborhoods, overlay with projected climate impacts, and use the results to drive priority projects.
This one is investigate use of fires, public works employee response model for monetary support to minimum wage workers during construction or displaced.
Can you read that one again? I didn't quite understand. I'm sorry.
Investigate the use of fire/public works mutual aid response model for monetary support to minimum wage workers during a disruption or displaced. Workers who are displaced during a disruption.
Great. So investigate the use of the mutual aid system that's in place with public safety fire response for that. Need is sending raise that for us earlier. Any others? We've got one here in the front, two more in the front, and one over there.
Enhance regional sediment management and coordination between agencies for resources, funding, and community.
Great. Enhanced regional sediment management. Ashley. Yeah.
Community microgrid, renewable-driven resilience with a region starting critical community facilities.
Thanks. Yeah, Ken?
Create a plan that would recognize the function and value of our local ecosystems and seek to enhance them, calling this a green infrastructure master plan.
Green infrastructure master plan. A lot of emphasis there. Yeah, one more in the back.
Joint education campaign in partnership with all coastal cities and counties.
Joint outreach and education across jurisdictions. Wonderful. I think that is well more than the top 10. Feels like there's a lot of juicy things in that list, and I would love to give space for every idea that surfaced to be spoken. Of course, we don't have the time for that quite yet, but what we're going to do now is move into a synthesis process. We've heard all these top-scoring, big, bold ideas. I think we have almost 15 of them that we're giving voice to. They got 22 or more points in our crowdsourcing process. And now we're going to move into some reflections and synthesis on what we've learned today, what we've heard today, what's rising up. And to begin that process, I'd love to invite Mona, our county CEO, to the fore. Mona did this for our last roundtable for those of you who are here. And Mona, really appreciate you being willing to not only take part and spend the better part of a whole day here, but also to share your wisdom. Thank you.
This one was really tough. But I'm just going to share some of the thoughts I had and reflections as we went through the day. And I don't know if I have any wisdom to share, but hopefully I can say things that will remind all of us and give us more thoughts as we exit here from today. So we started out this morning talking about a long history of this area, and I appreciate that, talking about the space we're in. And the changes that have happened to this area, the geographic changes, but also the human and land use changes. So we talked about Chumash used to be here. Now there's an airport. So throughout our history, through time, things do change. Land does change. Usages do change. Societies do change. And that is both a blessing and also could be a curse. But there is this evolution that is already occurring with or without our involvement. And Sigrid said, how do we live in the middle? I thought that was really fascinating. How do we live in the middle? We're in the middle of the mountains and the ocean. And that means we live in a perilous environment. But we also live in a beautiful environment, a wondrous environment. Not only because of the geography, but because of the community it's created. I think we have a tighter community here than other places, and I said that last year. And I think it also has to do with our geography. But we live in the middle, so what does that mean? So who in here is a middle child? Okay, I'm not, I was the bratty youngest child. But when you're the middle child, I'm told, my sister tells me, it's that you're always trying to mediate, and you're the one in between. You're looking at both sides of an issue, and you're trying to make progress, but you're also mediating, and you're the bridge. So if we're in the middle, that means we're the bridge. And maybe we're the bridge between now and the future. And not just for Santa Barbara County, but for all the other counties, because everyone will be addressing this. But we're here today, all of us, thoughtful people, thinking about this, talking about this, and thank you, CDC, for trying to get us organized. They said, think bigger, we're all in this together, get organized and collaborate. So maybe we're the bridge between now and the future, not only for ourselves, but for the rest of the state, the rest of the country. And that temperature map that Patrick showed, if you notice, when did it start accelerating? It looked like when I was looking at it quickly, it started accelerating in the 70s and 80s, right? I think that's when we could see it turn more yellow and orange. And I thought about that. And you don't have to raise your hand on this one, but how many people in this room are over 40? So we were all alive in the 70s and 80s. We recall that time. We remember what it was like to be in the playground, when Ernesto said to be at Goleta Beach. We remember that. But the people who are going to carry this forward are people who are under 40, under 30, and they don't remember that time. And someone I talked to today said that younger people, we said, how do you feel when you talk about younger people? And there's a defeatist sense. It's too much. It's too stressful. It's overbearing. But some folks are hopeful. So we have to keep that in mind. We we remember living through it, but there's a whole generation of people who this has been their normal. And how do we ensure that they can keep hope alive and keep positive about what's going to happen in the future? Because in 2050, when we start seeing some of these changes, many of us here won't be here. By the grace of God, Allah, Buddha, we will be, but many of us won't be. So something to think about. And then 2050 isn't that far away. 2050 is not that far away. And to talk about, in California, 1 million people will be exposed to daily flooding by 2100, but there'll be a once-in-a-lifetime event annually by 2050. That's frightening. That is frightening. Another thing, that gradual changes may not be noticed, but they do accumulate. So when Ernesto was talking about flooding in his building, Easy Lift, he said it started at his ankles and then his knees, and pretty soon he was at the elephant bar. He says it's because he needed to disconnect down the elephant bar. But all that happening is happening gradually. And so what that said to me as well is that sometimes we don't notice what it is, because it's happening gradually. And everyone in this room knows what it is, but we don't always notice it. And so I don't know if there's any elected officials still in the room, but cut them some slack. Because what they're dealing with is in the most immediate, and they're trying to plan ahead, but they're also trying to be responsive to the immediate. And people don't always put it in context about what's really happening. And so there's always conflict and anxiety and pressure about the immediate, which they have to address, but sometimes we forget, no, this is a part of a larger problem, and to give them some grace and some slack so there's room to maneuver. People migrating to the coast, as the coast is migrating inland. That resonated with me. And that adaptation strategies themselves are going to have a lifespan. That's something important. When I thought about what's going to happen in 2100, we saw the slides and some of the facts and the data. But if we look back 100 years from today, would we have tried to imagine what life is like in 2020? I mean, these are such large time spans. What can we do today? Because if we look back 100 years ago, we wouldn't have imagined the life that we have today. We wouldn't have imagined the kinds of things. We wouldn't have imagined this, and this, and this, and we just wouldn't have imagined it. So what's life going to be like in the future? And we talked about the heart and the structures and the education, and I love that, talking about the arts and all of that. Those are important. But I think we also have to think about what is our social interaction going to be like? Are we all going to be in VR goggles, sitting in a room somewhere, interacting that way? I don't know, hopefully not. Maybe we'll have to. I don't know. But life is going to change, and so as we talk about the climate adaptations, mitigations, resiliency, that's another part. How is life going to change just for our daily interaction, for work, and with each other? That's something to think about. But again, I think we've been on a long journey. We're going to continue. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because of this group here together. I'm hopeful, we said, for the young people who are here. I don't feel like being called young people. But I am hopeful for all those here. And thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite CEC CEO, Sigrid Wright.
This was a very sobering but also inspiring day for me, and one of the things I wanted to speak to is how much emotion